And a nice turnout. It's not really 4 people in here. Okay, so I'm gonna do Mark and Charlene for the next issue of the magazine, and so tape recorders don't work. So Simon's going to film it, and then I can listen to it back and do a good interview with it from you. So, but please keep quiet if you can. Shut those doors. Shut the door.
Yes, I know. Larry Grayson.
Yeah,
It's still open.
No, it's still open, Simon. Oh, what have you been taking?
I'm sure Harry's in it. Oh, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Well, if it's that good, I want some.
Yeah. Just after the toilet with him. Okay, you alright?
We're on.
Okay.
Oh, hang on. Turn it off now. Right now we're on.
Okay. So I'd like to say thank you to Charlene and Mark for coming in. I'm going to be speaking both today to Mark and Charlene, and mainly Charlene, about her future career for the magazine. But we'll start with Mark first. Mark, why are you over in England?
Well, my son is getting married tomorrow.
Congratulations.
So we decided we had to come. We had no choice. So, but I came a little bit early so I could do a seminar in Birmingham. So I did a line dance seminar in Birmingham. And then I did some travelling because Hong Kong is so small, you can go from one end to the other in an hour. So every time I come to the UK, I go on a road trip. So in the last week, I've done 1,500 miles. So I've been going everywhere.
How long was the last time you was here? When was you here last?
The last time we were here was about 3.5, 4 years ago.
So it's not so long.
And that was for another wedding.
So it's not so long.
So yeah, I mean, but that was for my master's daughter's wedding.
Wow.
Because my Sifu's youngest daughter lives in Kent. She married an Italian guy, and now they have 2 children. So I just went to visit them.
Wow, that's nice.
So and I took photos of the children. So what I'm going to do is, when I go back to Hong Kong, I'll go to his grave and I'll show him the photos of
nice.
his grandchildren.
So just a little bit, just explain about your journey from Bedworth to Hong Kong, how you got there, how you ended up from being a local lad like me in my area to going out to Hong Kong.
Well, I mean, like any young kid who's crazy on martial art movies, martial arts in general. But I don't know, my expectations of looking for a master Sifu, I couldn't find one that had my expectations in England. So I was lucky enough to have a friend who's a Malaysian Chinese, and he sent me to live with his family in Malaysia. He actually encouraged me to apply to be Hong Kong police.
Wow.
And I actually applied to the Hong Kong police force when I was 16. And because it was a British colony, they actually accepted me, but said I'd have to go to college and get A-levels first, because as a British colony, I could only be an inspector. I couldn't be a constable, and I wasn't too keen on schooling. So I said, forget that. So I ended up going to Malaysia and living with his family who owned a hotel. And I started off doing White Crane in Malaysia, because that school was right next to the hotel, so it was convenient, really. And then one day, one of the chefs from the hotel, or one night, he took me to show a midnight showing of one of Lau Galeong's movies. And that was Feng Hao, a Mad Monkey.
Oh, yeah.
And after I seen that, I was like, I gotta learn monkey fist, And it was like, well, he knows monkey fist, but he's a master of Hong Kong. So I then decided to find a master in Malaysia that did Hong Kong, and I learned from him for 3 years. And then I came back to the UK and opened up a school. And I became a bodyguard to a Hong Kong Chinese guy in Birmingham.
Oh, yeah.
And we'd finish work and we were getting drunk together, like I usually do. I like my whiskey. And he said to me, he says, I know why you like Chinese martial arts. I said, why? He said, because of Bruce Lee. And I said, well, I really respect Bruce Lee. He was the one that initially introduced the West to Chinese martial arts, you know. But he's not my hero. And he said to me, so who's your hero? And I said, well, my hero's Lau Galo. And he went, well, that's funny. I goes, why is it funny? He said, because his friend in Hong Kong is very close with Lau Galo, because his friend is a producer of Cinema City at the time. And at that time, Sifu had just been doing some movies for Cinema City. Aces Go Places, and of course Tiger on the Beat. So he said if I want, he could set up a meeting. And I was like, well, great, I'll go to Hong Kong, take some photos, and come back and put in my school. And that was it. That's the most I thought. I have my hero in my martial arts school.
At that stage, you had no thoughts about going into the movies or anything?
No. So I went to Hong Kong just for that reason, take a photo of my hero and put it in my martial arts school. So when I actually went to meet him in Cinema City offices, and I introduced myself and I told him that I started learning Hung Gar because of him and that he was my hero. And he's like, could you demonstrate? So I demonstrated some Tiger and Crane. And he was like, oh, for the Western, your stances are really good. And then he says, I've got a movie coming up. Would you like to be in it? And I thought I was dreaming, you know. Now my hero is asking me to be in one of his movies, and I'm like, sure, of course, I won't say no. So he said, that was, I think, 88, summer of 88. And he said that they won't start shooting until Christmas time. So he said, well, come back in November. So I come back to the UK, and then I went back in November, and thinking just do that one movie and then come back to the UK.
What was that film? Do you remember the name?
Yeah, Aces Go Places.
Aces Go
Yeah.
Places,
But while I was waiting for that film to be shot, then someone introduced me to Kofi.
Oh yeah, Philip.
And then we shot Angel Killers,
Yeah.
Sao Tinsy. So you see me fighting with Moon Lee.
Yeah.
That was actually the first film I ever did. You know, and it's kind of a warm-up for Aces Go Places. You know, and then when we were doing Aces Go Places, it's really funny because the first night on set, we were shooting in Kwai Chung. Kwai Chung has a shipping containers. And there's a port there, so we're shooting in the shipping containers. And the first night was a night shoot, and they picked me up in the offices of Cinema City, and they took me on set. And they got on set and they were filming. There was Sam there and Maka. And as I got on set, Sifu stopped filming and called me over, and he introduced everybody to me.
All right.
And said, like, this guy does Hong Kong. So he said, demonstrate. So I started demonstrating Tiger and Crane. And as I was demonstrating it, I could see something out of the corner of my eye, and I looked, and he was actually performing with me. Now I was a young guy, I was like 27, you know, and I was thinking, I gotta be faster than this guy, I gotta be faster. So I started to pick up the speed. But every time I picked up the speed, he was one gear ahead. No matter how fast I went, he was one step ahead of me. And I just couldn't keep up with him, you know. But when I finished, I was like grinning all over, you know. It was just surreal having your hero greet you, put you in this movie, and then perform with you in front of people, you know. I still had to keep pinching myself still I was awake. And then he said to me, he says, okay, go get changed, your part soon. And at the beginning of the movie, I pretended to be a fireman to steal the sword. You see? The end of the film, we're shooting in the warehouse, and we dressed as terracottas, you know. And we're shooting, and he says to me, he says, Matt, he says, after this is finished, what are you doing? Are you going back to the UK? And I said, yeah, I've got a martial arts school there. So all my students are waiting. And he kind of looked and he smiled and he says, or would you rather stay in Hong Kong and work for me? And there was somebody sitting opposite, and he had one of them old Motorola phones that looked like a house brick, you know. Great for hitting people on the head with because they wouldn't break, you know. So I said to him, can I borrow your phone a minute? So he said, yeah, okay, gave me his phone. And I called back to the UK and I said, close my school, I'm never coming back. And that was it, you know. I never left Hong Kong after that.
And it just carried on after that, that once you're in there, because it's at that stage a lot of Westerners were sort of being picked up from chunking mansions to go in there, but you seem to have a stable relationship with them.
Well, yeah, because I was lucky because I had Lau Galiang behind me, and I had another friend behind me, the producer, they introduced me to him. So with them two behind me, I had a stable working relationship. Everybody would ask me to come and film with them. And because they were behind me, I didn't get conned or mistreated. At first, the industry was, I wouldn't say racist, but that time AIDS was about, you know, and they were like, oh, Westerners have got AIDS, and they'd all have nice cups for drinking, and you'd end up with a paper cup in a bucket. Oh, these are for the Westerners to drink from because they got AIDS, you know. So at the beginning, it was pretty hard, you know. But you just had to swallow your pride, because then you think about it. In the West, whether you're in filming an English program or you're filming in America, the Asians or whatever, or the black guys are the bad guys, you know. So you know, you think about it and you think, you know, well, you're in Asia, so you know you've got to be the bad guy. You can't be the good guy, and it's just one thing. But then, kind of like, actually being the bad guy is more fun, you know. And if you see a lot of the movies, if the bad guy hasn't got that power, he carries the film, you know. And at the end, you know, he gets beaten, you know, but he's the one that carries the film and makes it feel like, you know, it's powerful.
I want to just talk about, they've just released Skinny Tiger Fatty Dragon, and also there was a great fight between you and Sammo Hung, but it does look like he's really hitting you.
Okay, yeah, I mean, Sammo is great. I love Sammo, you know. He's really down to earth, and he wants excitement in his films, you know. And he says to me, he says, you know, as an action fighter, you're really a human prop. You know, you want to do the most exciting and dangerous things, because if you look at it, Hong Kong is not known for its stories, its scripts, or its great acting ability. Now in America, when you watch a movie, you get involved in the story, and you believe the actors, you know. But in Hong Kong, it's the action. You don't care about the story. You don't care if they can act great. You care about the action. It's the action that's got you on the end of the seat, and you're looking at it, and you leave the cinema or you finish watching the film, and you're going like, wow, that stunt was amazing. I mean, sure, they should have killed it. Probably somebody did get killed or badly injured, you know. There's no safety in the Hong Kong movie industry. Like in the States, if you're doing a stunt, they're going to put it on paper first, then they're going to have the safety inspectors come on and see whether you can do it or not. But Hong Kong, we just turn up on set and the director will go, oh, maybe have someone fall from there, and they'll go, okay. And they'll get cardboard apple boxes and they'll stack them up with mattresses on top, and you get up there, and if you refuse to do it, you'll never get hired again, you know. So we're like 3 or 4 stories up, and we're looking down and going, wow, I don't really feel comfortable. But what you do is you put a mark on the edge of the rooftop where you want to, that's the point you want to go off. And then you see where the boxes and the mattresses are, so you line it up, and then you just walk away and ignore it. Don't put it out of your mind. and then you talk about something else, take your mind off it, and as soon as you hear the words roll gay, then you get into position, action, and you just go and just hope that you hit the pads and you survive it.
But just going back to the thing, I just want to ask you, because I've heard when Samuel fights, he can be a bit.
Yeah, I mean, someone said to me, he says, Mark, he says, he wants to reenact the fight scene with Bruce and Chuck Norris at the Coliseum. And he says, but I want to make it real. And he goes, by that, I mean, I really want to hit you. Is that okay? And I'm like, sure, let's go for it. You know. So he really did hit me, and that's especially the end part, where he hits me in the stomach and I bend down, and the camera's here. And then he kicks me in the face, and I flip on my back. Then he jumps on, and he goes, ah, and he does the Bruce Lee thing on me, you see? So he comes up to, he says to me, he says, Mark, I'm going to really kick you in the face. And I goes, yeah, oh, okay. And he goes away for a few minutes, and he comes back, and he's took his shoe off. And he stuck some foam padding on the inside his shoe. He goes, Mark, look, I put some padding in there. It's going to be okay, right? And I'm like, yeah, it's going to be okay. So he puts the padding in there, and then get the camera in position, and then we shout, roll, action. And he hits me in the stomach, and I bend down, and his foot comes up, and he kicks me in the face, and I flip up and land on my back, and he finishes me off. And then I hear the words, cut. And I'm still lying on the floor. I'm seeing stars. No, I'm dizzy for like 10 minutes. I can't stand up for 10 minutes. It took me 10 minutes for my head to clear. And then I could stand up, you know. And summer is fantastic because my part had finished. So I went and got changed, and I came back, and I started to say goodbye to everybody. And someone says, what are you saying goodbye for? I said, well, my part's finished. And he says, yeah, your part's finished, but I want you to come back tomorrow, change your clothes, find a place to lie down and sleep, and go to sleep. When we finished, you change your clothes back and you leave. He says, I want you to do that for a week. So he had me come in every day for a week, change my clothes, find somewhere to sleep, go to sleep, wake up, pay. And he paid me for 7 extra days because I let him hit me for real. You know? So the amount of respect I have for him is amazing. He really looks after his people.
Is that one of your? Is that, if you reflect back on your career, is that one of your moments? Is that out of the films you've done? What was the moments that memory think I enjoyed that? That was
Well, I mean, of course, working with my own seafood was the highlight of my films, you know. But working with Samo, Kofi, and Frankie Chan, they were the best directors that I ever worked with, because they allowed you to shine. A lot of other directors and a lot of stars, if your martial arts were good, they were probably better than theirs, and they didn't like that. So they would ask the director, the stunt director, to trim you down and not let you shine, because they didn't want you to look better than them. But Samo, my Sifu, Kofi, and Frankie Chan, they loved letting Westerners shine.
Really?
They loved letting you show your ability, your true ability.
What was it like working on Drunken Master 2?
I actually didn't know I was working on the movie.
Oh, right.
I was walking in the street in Kowloon one day, and Ken Lowe bumped into me. And he said, congratulations. I said, what for? He said, you're the assistant fight coordinator for Drunken Master 2. And you're also an actor in it. And I goes, well, it's the first I've heard of it. He goes, you better call your Sifu. So I called my Sifu. He says, oh, yeah, you're going to be my assistant. No. So he was the director. The fight coordinator, action director was Lau Ga Yong. And I was the assistant action director. So That was pretty good because I was the first Westerner to be action director for a Hong Kong movie. The pay was crap, but the
Even
thing
on a
is,
Jackie film?
but the thing is, they said to me, says, "Look, you're making history. It's the first time that a Westerner's got this position." So I said, "Okay, I don't care about the money. I'll do it." You know, and it was great because I was teaching the fish guy, the fishmonger guy. I was teaching him the Choi Lei Foot because he was doing Choi Lei Foot in the movie. You know, and then I was helping choreograph the fight scenes.
Did you stay on after?
No. And after the disagreements happened, we had the fight scene. We arrested Jackie, and we had the fight in the prison. And we were choreographing the fight scene, and I was using Honga. And Jackie comes in and he looks. He goes, "Ma, you can't use Chinese Kung Fu. You can't use Honga." I said, "What?" I said, "I'm a Westerner famed for using Honga." He goes, "I'm Wong Fei Hung. You can't have better Honga than me. You can't do Honga." He says, "You have to do Western boxing." And I was like, I'm crap at Western boxing. You know, I can't box to save my life. So I said to my supervisor, "I'm not happy about this." He goes, "Well, it does make sense. You can't do Honga." He says, and he wasn't happy with Jackie at that time. He says, "I have an idea." So they found these big old Western boxing gloves, you know, the real beginning of them. They're so big, and we put these boxing gloves on, and we start choreographing this boxing fight. And the camera is facing me. Jackie's in front of the camera, so the camera sees Jackie's back. And what we have to do is Jackie throws a punch, I block it, and then I throw a punch, and he reacts. And we set up the camera, and my supervisor goes, "Roll camera, action." Jackie hits, I block, bam! My master shouts, "Cut, cut, cut, cut." He comes running over, he goes, "Mark, what are you doing?" I goes, "What?" He goes, "No power." He goes, "Come on, don't you know how to fight?" I goes, "Oh, sorry." "Okay, again. Roll camera, action, bam! Cut, cut, cut. Mark, no power. What are you doing?" This goes on 10 times. It does 10 NGs. And the 10th one is like, "Mark, if you don't know how to fight, how can you be my student? Maybe you should go back to Hong Kong." And I started to panic and I started to sweat. The sweat started to come down my forehead, and I was like, I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. He walks over, he picks up my hand with the glove on, and he holds my hand and he punches himself in the face with it in front of Jackie. And he says, "Jackie," he says, "sorry, my student is useless. He's got no power. This is quite padded. Can we hit for real?" And he said it quite loud so everybody could hear. So of course Jackie can't say no. So Jackie starts punching himself in the face with his glove and goes, "Okay, yeah, let's do it." So my Sifu walked past Jackie, turned round back to me and went, and the light bulb come on. And I realised what he was doing. So I said to Jackie, "Jackie, I'm sorry." He goes, "It's okay, director. Orders, okay." The roll camera action, pop. Jackie was asleep. But of course they edited it out. They wouldn't put it in. No. But then after that, the arguments got worse, and my master left, and I left with him. And when we come back to Hong Kong, we'd started the beginning of the end fight in the furnace in Shanghai. So you see Winston, the big black guy in there. He's actually French, Polynesian, you know, and he's a Taekwondo guy from France. And he actually was a bodyguard to, I think, the French Prime Minister or something before, you know. So he's doing that fight where Jackie's got the fan and he's got the chain. in front of the furnace. So we're choreographing it. And it hits Jackie. Jackie uses the fan, hits his hand, his arm drops. And as he hits his hand, he hits his collarbone. So as he hits his collarbone, he's supposed to drop forward. So he hits this and he drops forward. And then Jackie uses the elbow and then he goes backwards. But he doesn't, every time you're trying to choreograph for him, he doesn't pay attention because he thinks he's a fighter, he knows everything. So we tell him, he's like, yeah. So okay, roll camera. Roll the camera. Action. He punches. Jackie hits his arm, hits his collarbone, but instead of dropping forward, he goes backwards. Now when Jackie's elbow comes in, he comes forwards. And we're sitting over in the corner, so they're probably here, and we're right over in the corner over there. And we're watching the screen, watching the TV screen. And all you hear is this crack. And you've seen the movie, Winston is a big guy. And he just stands there, he doesn't move. And Jackie looks at him, and he goes away. And he goes to one of the producers, he goes, you better go and have a look. So the producer goes up, and the producer looks at him, and the producer walks away. And somebody else goes up, and they have a look, and they go away. And then one of the stunt people go up, and they take a look, and they come to me, and they go, Mark, you better go and take a look. So I went up, and his nose, the bridge of his nose, was under his eye here. So the elbow just removed his nose to here. So I looked at him, I said, Vincent, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, of course I am. What's the matter? I goes, well, your nose is underneath your eye. I was like, what? And he put his hand up. His nose wasn't there. He felt it here. He took one step and he passed out. And then they took him to hospital to have it reset. And they had this little girl. She was one of the producers. And she only came up to here, you know. She wasn't tall. And she's the one that had to take him to hospital. So they reset his nose. When they come back, they reset his nose and her hand was in the bandage. And we're like, what happened to your hand? She goes, he wanted to hold my hand while they reset his nose and he pushed my hand. Yeah. So, yeah, but then after that we left the set. And they finished the end fight in Golden Harvest Studios. So they reproduced the furnace in Golden Harvest. So Jackie called me up, he says, Mark, he says, we need you for the ending. Because originally I was supposed to fight the Choi Lei Foot guy and the girl with the snakes and Ga Young. So it was three of them against me. So Jackie called me and says, we need you for the ending. I says, you need to call my master. I says, if he says I can come back, I'll come back. But I says, if I'm coming back now, I'm not coming back for the same price that you originally hired me for. I'm going to increase the price. And I said, but, call him first. And of course, Jackie wouldn't call him. So at the end, you see me standing outside the furnace. And then as they enter the furnace, I disappear. So, and then after that, Jackie got mad because I wouldn't come and do the ending. So then... So when the credits came out, it was. So when the credits came out, it was director Lau Ga Leong, action director Lau Ga Yong, assistant action director Jackie Stunt Team. So they took my name off the credit for it. But it's just one of those things. It just happens.
Just before we go to Charlene, so. At what stage did you move into scuba diving as an alternative sort of business? Did you think I've had enough of it?
No, I smashed my hips doing stunts. So I had both my hips replaced. I had my knee replaced. And I kind of went into a depression. Because, I couldn't do the things I used to do. And that's what I was famous for, And it kind of got... I didn't want to even watch movies that I was in. Because I didn't want to be reminded of what I could do and what I couldn't do. No. So I just quit the movie industry. I even quit teaching martial arts.
Really? I didn't know that bit.
And I just went into scuba diving. Because in the water, you're weightless. It's like being in space. So at least it didn't bother me.
Therapeutic as well.
Yeah. So I kind of like pushed away from everything. It wasn't until my master's death, just before he died, he'd made me promise to come back to the movie industry and also come back to teaching.
Let's open the door for Ben, yeah? Ben? Quiet. Yeah, so that was it. I wonder why it was. I mean, because sometimes you just get too much for you when you get older, or you know, there it's like I say, it's a risky job for not the best money in the world. But I guess I'd have always thought that your martial arts would have been like it's like a strength, isn't it? Your martial arts like a discipline, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, but the thing is, I mean, when your whole life is built on something, and then suddenly you can't do it. I mean, it's just a different thing. I mean, it's so painful, even just to watch the movies. So I had so many movies, I had so many photos and videos behind the scenes, but I destroyed them all.
Really?
I just burnt them all. I didn't even want to watch them. That's how bad it was, you know. And slowly over the years, I mean, I kind of quit everything and just did the diving. And then before my master's death, he took me to dinner because it was my birthday. And that was on March 2013. And he died in June 2013. So he made me promise to go back to this film industry. He said, look, be the stunt coordinator, coordinate the fights, be a producer. He said, show people our kung fu on film. And then he says, well, and also you've got to carry on teaching, you know. So I forced myself to train back. And it's funny because I remember on the set of Outlaw Brothers.
Yeah. Did Jackie come on that set, didn't he?
He did, but he didn't choreograph. He just come and pose.
Because
And
the
that was
photographs
it.
look like
But they
was...
say he's choreographing it, but he didn't. He just come and pose. You know? But I was sitting with Bruce Fontaine,
Oh, yeah.
and we were talking about the future. And Bruce was going, "Oh, when he's 60, he's still going to have abs, you know."
Yeah.
And I was like, "When I'm 60, I'm still going to do the splits." And last year, I was coming up to my 60th birthday, and I was thinking, "Wow." I remember that conversation. It's going to be the first thing I've ever said that I'm never going to be able to do. And I just kept getting in my head, and I was thinking, no. I always say I do something, I do it. So I've got to force myself. So I forced myself to train back the splits, and I can do the splits again now.
Right, yeah.
You know, with 2 hip replacements. You know, but I mean, I have to do like a 30-minute warm-up first, but you know, I get down there, you know. But like, hello, young man.
Yeah, you didn't give me 30 minutes to warm up when you gave me the box splits in Hong Kong, did you? Something like that, Jim?
Yeah, but you were young and strong and, you know, fit. You were an animal, man. I mean, you know, he'd be walking in Hong Kong, people would like move across the road just to go past him. You know. Come see her.
Okay, let's go over to Charlene for a minute now then. You're sort of not out as much as you we can take a photo of that and take it out of context.
I'll tell you a story about Billy Blanks on that. And they took that out of content.
Anyway, so Charlene, please tell us about how you started, because you started martial arts very young.
Yeah.
Having your dad like Mark.
Yeah. I started around 4 and 5 years old. My dad really wanted me to learn martial arts too. Like, as a girl, you have to protect yourself. This is what he wants. So, because I'm a really sporty person, like to do different sports. So, I like to fight, like to spar. So he teach me, and then he stopped because when I was in the kindergarten, around 5 years old, my dad received a call from my teacher saying, "Mark, your daughter kicked a boy, make him bleed." So my father was so angry. He was so angry. He said, I teach you martial art, but you're not supposed to use it like that. You're not supposed to go around and beat up your classmate like that. So he stopped teaching me since then until I was 14.
Well, okay, let me
Yeah.
just say something. We got a call from the school.
Okay.
She kicked the boy in the mouth and knocked his teeth out.
I knew there was more to the story.
So I was waiting for her to come home, and she come home from school. The door opened, and I was sitting there, and I looked at her. I says, "You, come here." Now she's only 5 or 6, right? She looked at me. She said, "Daddy, let me explain." So I said, "Okay, explain." She goes, "I wasn't fighting. I was exercising, and I lifted my leg up, and the boy ran into my foot."
I was just stretching my leg.
And the boy ran into my foot. No, I just looked at her and said, "Go to your room." She went to her room, closed the door, and I just burst out laughing. How can you handle that? A 5 or 6-year-old talking to you like that, you know? What could you say? So I just said, "No more training," you know? So
Yeah, until when I was 14, I saw my father teaching lots of different students from overseas, and Kung Fu is really interesting because what I learned in Hong Kong, like, it was just like Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, Karate. It's very popular there, but nothing like Kung Fu, nothing like what my father is teaching. So interesting, like tiger claw, snake. So when I was 14, I went to my father and said, I really want to learn Hong Gar and take it seriously. And that's how I start Kung Fu.
And did that carry on, or did you
That
just...
carry
did
on,
that
on and off, carry on and off.
So at that stage, was you thinking your career-wise, this is good for self-defense, but I might want to go and do some travel abroad. I might want, your career might be something else, or did you think, I would like to stay in the industry like your father and see if I can pursue a career within movies?
Yeah, I do, because I also watch lots of movies in the 80s, 90s. There's really famous Kung
Do you
Fu
have any
movies.
people that you aspire to? Like we come from the Bruce Lee period, or some people come from the Jackie. As a younger person, who was your inspirations when you was watching?
Really, I my father and my Sigong Liao Kao Leung, really, because until now, what?
because you're biased, you only like us.
There's not many young girls watch your
No.
brother films.
Because in Hong Kong, no one do kung fu film like them anymore. Really, they don't know traditional martial arts. They don't know how to apply into a fight scene. All they do is just modern boxing, and then that's it.
But is there a big scene for females? Because when I used to go to the parks in Hong Kong, you'd see the old ladies doing Tai Chi from that generation, and yet when I've been in there before, I know a lot of people want to get into the movies from the boys' point of view, but is there a big sort of movement for girls, even for protection? Is there a scene, or is it not the same anymore out there? For female martial artists, fighters, is there a scene, or is it quietly disappeared?
I think disappeared. Even in Hong Kong, when we talk about kung fu martial arts, famous guy, it's Bruce Lee, or now we got Donnie Yen. But when they're all male actor, there's no female actors, so
Michelle
it's like
Yeoh is
disappeared.
probably one of the few people that still...
But new generations, no.
There isn't
No,
there?
yeah.
But
So-
you got that Juju Chan. I think she's probably the most famous of the Hong Kong females now because of her working in the States.
Yes.
But she's a Taekwondo girl, so she's very limited in what she can do. But she's doing okay for herself. Yeah.
But when you trained, you went in and ended up doing like the MMA stuff, didn't you? Which is
Yes.
like a mixed martial art. What
Yes.
made you want to take that direction?
Yes, because I really want to do action movies, kung fu movies. But I have a lots of question or comment. Oh, this girl, she can fight good in front of a camera in a scene, but can she really fight for real? So this make me think I really want to do a real fight, a real competition. That's why I learn Muay Thai, I learn MMA.
Give you more credibility.
Yeah, and then yes, Then I did a lot, like 10 total, 15 amateur fight for MMA and Muay Thai, just to prove that I can fight. Oh, prove myself. I really want to challenge myself and prove that I can fight for real and I can fight nicely in front of the camera.
What's your training regime when you're doing that? Because it's quite you have to really stay in shape when you're actually doing fighting in a ring, as opposed to choreographing for a movie. What was your sort of exercise routine to get into that? You know what I mean? Because you've got your kung fu. It's a mixed thing in there, and it's a fitness level if you're going to go 4 or 5 rounds. How did you mentally prepare for that?
Yeah, it's so much difference, and because I have to start from zero. Because for MMA, for competition, they got rules. So everything I learned from kung fu, it's banded in a fight. I can't use tiger claw. I can poke them in the eye. I can hit the ground. I can hit the back.
That looks pretty good. It's very close to Mark. You can see where she gets it
she's
from.
the
That's
next
like
generation now.
It's the same movement.
Yeah, so it's so much different. So I try to adapt and change it into my own style. Like I have to really train up my fitness for the fight, but I try to like take some of the kung fu movements. Like they can't use tiger claw, so I use palm instead. Like close attack, I can use my palm to hit
And
for
you're close in,
MMA.
aren't you? So you need to be in close.
Yes.
A lot of the martial arts, you're at a distance.
So,
for that, you're in,
yeah.
so you need
I
to
try
think another technique.
Yeah, I try to use kung fu in my MMA fight. So my style it's a bit weird, different, mixed with kung fu and
Effective.
MMA.
Would you say it's a bit
But
more
yeah,
effective?
yeah.
And is that, I mean, so you went there for 15 fights. At the same time, so now you've done that, and now you think I've got the credibility. If I do a film, not only can I fight on screen, but I've got, they can see my resume, that I'm as good in the ring as I am on the screen there. Did that help you? Did that actually help
Yeah.
when you went forward? Did
Yes,
you
yes.
had the,
Yes.
the pedigree in fighting in the ring?
Yeah, and then Hong Kong, they have a TV company, TVB, and another new company, Field TV. They did a reality show for MMA fight. So that's my first TV show as a actor or a participant for MMA fight. Since that show, so I gained a lot of job experience, job opportunity now. Lots of experience now.
Because even though the movies are quite down, the TV is still quite big out there, isn't it? The TV series.
Yeah.
And did that lead you into that series, The Flying Tigers?
Yes, yes.
Did you have to audition for that, or did they just say...
Audition. I have to go through the audition.
Yeah?
But they're looking for someone makes like half Asian, half Western, and who can fight as a girl. So I got that part. That's my first TV show. Yeah.
How did you find it when you was actually...
Yeah, I
Because
love it.
TV's a little bit different than a film, isn't it?
Yes.
You've got there's a lot more episodes.
Yes.
How did you find it working on that?
I really enjoy it, but it's tough because in Hong Kong they really expect me to do everything myself. I do my own stunt myself. Like 99% of movement stunts, I do it all by myself. So it's tough, but I really enjoy it.
Did you get injured much?
A lot.
Like how?
Yeah, a lot of injuries. The newest, like I got here. I got 8 stitches, like this year in January during action movie.
I guess that's the thing. It's even for a girl. It's if a guy gets his tooth knocked out, something it looks like he's a bit of a fighter, but for a girl, it's different, isn't it? If you start.
I think it another way. I just give me a badass. A new character. I accept it now. It's a part of me.
But in Hong Kong at the
Represent me.
moment, if you're in that film industry, it's not the best at the moment, is it? It's not like thriving, like when your dad was there. It's not like thriving.
Yeah.
So I guess the thing to do is, and I was talking to your dad, is your dad's got a script for you now, yeah? Tell me about that.
The Paradise.
Yeah.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
Dangerous, yeah.
Well, I mean, I've got a company that's interested in financing 3 movies with her in it. So, I mean, the first one I'm thinking about is called Paradise is Dangerous. And in the movie, her name is Paradise. And she's a female bounty hunter. You know. So, we're planning to film... Originally, I was going to plan to film it in Malaysia. But after doing some research, there's only 2 countries in the world that legally have bounty hunters. And that's the States and Philippines. So now we've changed it to the Philippines. So, and we're going to shoot in English, Chinese and Tagalog as well. So it's going to be like an international thing, but we'll have subtitles under the other. You know, but it's basically for the Western market. Now I want to do the 80s, 90s style, the 90s style fighting. Bring that back, but for the Western market. If it sells in Hong Kong and China, great. You know. But the documentary I did, I Am the White Tiger, was meant to open the doors to show people, look what I did with a small amount of money. And that won 33 awards around the world. So now I'm saying, well, if you give me a decent budget, I imagine what I can do with it. So hopefully the end of this year, the investors release the money. So beginning of next year, we can start.
You made that just for the COVID, didn't you? So that would have happened, wouldn't it? That just come
Well, I got 3 or 4 scripts already for her, but this one we can do on a lower budget. And I really wanted to hire Danny Trejo. What's his name? Danny Trejo as her boss. Because the Mexican look, he can pass for Filipino as well, you know.
Even though he's old, he still looks good.
Yeah.
Still that ruggedy look.
But there's another guy that's got a bald head that always works with him, a lot of tattoos.
Yeah.
But I decided to go for him.
Oh, yeah?
Because I was thinking, you know, Danny's maybe a bit too old to do
Danny's got to be
78
78 now.
something, yeah.
78 now, yeah.
So I think go for him now, you know.
I
And
saw
then,
him in Banshee.
Yeah.
He was in Banshee.
that's right, yeah. And then I was thinking of Ken Lowe for the main bad guy. But again, I mean, the action I'm thinking and the stunts I'm thinking, I'd have to stunt double him. And I don't really want to do that. I want them to do the majority of their own stunts. So now I'm decided I'm going with David Young, Bolo Young's son, because his muscle is amazing. His big side, his muscle is better than his father's, and he's living in LA. He's done some acting. He's done some acting courses, you know. So I'm thinking if I can put him in as the main bad guy, then we have 2 from America that we can use for promotion, and hitting that Bruce Lee connection with his father, with Bruce Lee.
Bolo's got a good pedigree. People like him, so just by that connection
so
with his
using
dad,
that connection alone,
you know.
it's enable us to promote and sell it better, you know.
Yeah. But that's just the one script. Are all the 3 or 4 you're talking about, they're all action, I presume?
All action movies.
Because now you see today's action films, it's more that born identity stuff. You don't see styles, do you, in the films?
No, I mean, really, in reality, I've got to kind of like choreograph her fight scenes where there's some MMA, Thai boxing, and a portion of Kung Fu. So it's only on the exciting parts or the things that I want to stand out that she'll use some Kung Fu and hit the guy, then she'll pose. And then she'll go back into free fighting or something like that, and then add in a little bit more Kung Fu. So you flavour it out.
Another woman
So I mean,
can fight as well,
I mean,
Chinese woman that can
I think
fight.
that way the people will accept it.
Yeah.
But,
Combination.
but if you just go traditional martial arts now, people are going to go, oh, that's not going to work in reality, you know, and people are not going to accept it now.
The truth is, kung fu films are not big box office.
Yeah, I mean,
Action
how
films
many
are.
people now watch the Shaw Brothers? Very, very small amount. So a lot of people have never even seen these movies. So to put traditional kung fu in as it used to be, I don't think it's going to work. People won't accept it. So we have to, you know, mix and match, you know.
I think even the revamp of Kung Fu with the woman in it didn't really go back to tradition, did it?
Well, I
That's-
don't think the Kung Fu was to standard.
No.
No, I mean, now when people use Kung Fu in movies, they're trying to show all these intricate, beautiful movements, but it lacks power. You see these movements, but there's no power in it, and you don't believe that punch or that kick is going to hurt someone.
No.
And that's the main thing. When you saw my master choreographed movies, you could see the power in it.
In
You
fact,
know.
when Charlene did that move, then it looked quite powerful. But no, the jacket.
No.
But it
So I mean that's the, and plus I've got my master's last script he ever written, and it's about the destruction of Shaolin Temple and the history of Honga. So he gave me that before he died, and we were negotiating with an American company to film it. It was 20 million US. So he said to me, he says, if ever I get the chance, could I finish this movie? And I'd been out of the industry for like 15 years before he made me promise to go back before his death. And I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking, well, you know, I've been out of the industry for so long. When we filmed, it was on 35 mil.
Yeah.
Now, you know, it's a memory card, you know. There's a lot of technology that's different. They're using green screen, blue screen, you know, CGI, everything, which I have no clue about. I'm a dinosaur when it comes to making movies, you know. So in that sense, who would trust me with a few $1 million? No one. No? And that's why the documentary came out. Because I thought, well, if I shoot a documentary, you can make one for peanuts, you know? And you won't lose money making a documentary. You won't make a lot of money, but you won't lose a lot of money.
But they can be good calling cards, can't they?
Yeah, and it opened the doors for me. You know, so now I'm saying, well, with this small budget, look what I did. Now give me some money and see what I did. And I want to gradually build up. I've got 4 or 5 movies I want to make. If you gave me 20, 30, 40 million tomorrow and said, do your Seafoods movie, I'd say no. Because the thing is, his reputation and his life's work is amazing. He's become a legend. And if I rushed into it and made a crap movie, I would destroy his reputation.
Yeah.
And I can't do that, you know. So I want to do 4 or 5 movies and gradually build up the budget. So the next movie I'm looking at $1.4 million US, you know, to shoot in the Philippines, and then go to 3 million, 5 million, bring it up to 10 million, you know, and then from there, if I find a good team that I can trust to produce a movie, then I will look for that bigger budget to finish my master's movie, you know. And then that would be traditional martial arts, and we'd shoot in China, you know.
So that's the bounty. So what are the other scripts loosely then that Charlene could be? You've got the Paradise one.
Yeah,
As,
there's
are
another
they
one
all
called
similar?
China Heat.
China Heat.
Didn't Cynthia do something like that?
Yeah,
China
yeah.
O'Brien.
Yeah, China Bar. Yeah, China
Yeah,
Bar.
something like it.
Yeah. This is a kind of story about misfit stuntmen in Asia, and they're always getting fired from their job because they can't work. They always argue with each other and always mess up the stunts, no. But the background story is the head of the stunt team is me. But I was brought up in China in a temple, and I had a kind of very close friend who was brought up the same, and he was a better fighter than me. But I went into the stunt world, the movie industry, and he become underground godfather.
They're like a Blood Brothers style.
Yeah, totally. But there was a statue in the temple that was very valuable, and he stole it. And he owns this antique gallery and this museum with all these Chinese antiques in it. And one day we see a poster, I see a poster of this antique, this statue. and I know where it's come from, and I know who took it. So I get this stunt team together, like Ocean's 11, to steal this back and take it back to the temple. And she's one of the most important people in the stunt team. And she comes, she's riding a motorbike, you know, and she has the guy on the back. I don't know if some of you have seen my Facebook post. I post one of my students called Monkey. And he's going to be her sidekick. And he's going to be deaf and dumb. He can't talk. And he acts like a monkey, you know. And they're going to be a partnership. And they're going to fight together, you know. At the end, I get killed, saving this relic. And they have me cremated in the temple. So you see my body burning as they give back the relic to the monks, you know. So I mean that's another one that we're doing, you know.
You were saying earlier.
And that script actually we put into a competition in China. There were 6,000 scripts put into a competition, and that script came 11th out of 6,000. But the script that came first, the Chinese government paid to have it made, you know. So 11th out of 6,000 wasn't bad, you know. So I mean, it's a good script, and
Very
we can do that.
interesting. So you were saying earlier you're contracted to Shaw Brothers right now, yeah?
Yes.
How long does that expire? When does that expire?
I signed for 5 years, so another 3 years to go with Shaw
And that's
Brothers.
on a need to film basis, isn't it?
Yes.
Are they churning out? Are they doing much at the moment, Shaw Brothers?
Yes, but mainly drama, not much
Yeah.
action going on.
No,
That's
they're not doing that. So,
yeah.
so where? I mean, it's a tough industry that you're heading into. Like say in Mark and like say, we love those old style kung fu. A lot of people in here who come today, they love that. It's there. I mean, but would you be against, even as an actress side of it, think, well, it's no action, but I don't mind going into this film, even if it's not action.
Yeah, I don't mind. Even
that's it.
I also signed contract with TVB, Hong Kong TVB TV company. They give me lots of different roles. I just take it to like to learn and to gain more experience. I'm
That's a
happy to
good
do
thing.
different things
It's a
beside
good thing.
action. Yeah.
Are they still active, not ATV? Are they still churning that as much as they did? Or
ATV, they stopped and they just come back. They're just making a comeback.
But TVB are there, yes?
No, TVB is still on the TV, but ATV now is just gone. They go online, so you go online to watch it. They
On
don't
the
show on
streaming
TV. Yeah, streaming channel. They don't show on the TV for Hong Kong now anymore. You know? But like now, she's getting ready for another reality show.
When's that shooting?
Supposed to be when she goes back.
Oh, yeah.
What they did is they took 6 female actresses, 6 male actresses, and they've given them a crash course in bodybuilding.
Oh.
And when she goes back, she's got to do a bodybuilding competition for a reality show.
Bikini fitness, more like bikini.
But she's gone from 53 kg to 60, so
In
if
3
she
months.
takes off her jacket, she's like I told her, keep your jacket on, don't show me.
So during this show, then you're actually training, and you're gonna. So you
Yeah.
start at one position. It's the one at the end on the plinth, number
Yeah.
one. That makes it there, yeah. So it's all that. So you're actually training, and you're doing watching
Yeah.
training and
Yeah,
developing.
really training 5 days a week. Just to
Is it
build-
like Big Brother? You're all in one house. You can't leave it. Are you all under in one area when you film it? So there's no cheating.
Yes, yes,
Is that in Hong Kong? They're shooting.
in Hong Kong.
Who are have you seen who the other candidates are? There's anybody you
No.
know?
No.
They're all
Hopefully-
newcomers. No, it's to promote the new actors, actresses in it,
This is
the
very
new
few
artists.
coming through. The same old faces. Lewis Koo, Simon Yan. It's the same old faces. I don't. Do you think the way it is in Hong Kong at the moment, with the COVID, etc., it has really slaughtered the film industry, hasn't it? Really, do you think so? It's really put a damper on it, Mark?
Well, not really, because the thing is, every other industry in Hong Kong has suffered. But TVB have allowed to carry on filming, even when they said that we're only allowed to have 2 people or 3 people in the street together. TVB were filming with like 20, 30 people together,
Wow.
You know, so they kind of like managed to keep going.
I just want to open up for a minute here because we're doing all the talking. I say it's a Q&A. So anybody would like to ask, because I won't have all the answers, Charlene or Mark a question? Fire.
I'll ask one. That's okay. What do you think of modern day action film, and what ones do you like, if any, and what actors do you like, if any?
Like I said, if any.
Okay, I don't really like the modern day action film because there's too much camera shaking on the action.
Right, yeah, close-ups.
Because a lot of the Western films, the actors can't do the action like the Asian actors could. So to get round that, they shake the camera. So it makes you kind of like dizzy and sick trying to watch it, you know. So you kind of takes your mind off whether they can actually do the action, you know. Yeah. So I don't really like watching that. And even now in Hong Kong, they started to do that. And I'm thinking, what the hell? But the new generation of Hong Kong actors can't fight. So, you know, they're jumping on the bandwagon, shake the cameras, they're doing the action, you know. So I don't really like that type of style. And also, a lot of the times, when I see an action movie, I'm looking at the choreography. And I'm thinking, you know, that didn't work, or that lacks power. That could have been better. So I don't really enjoy watching that. So I prefer to watch comedy than I do action films anymore. You know, maybe I can bring back the old style action, the 90s style action again. Hopefully, you know, and start re-educating people. I mean, I'm always willing to help people, and I explain to them why I think there's a lack of power in that fight, and how they could improve that power. Because, you know, if I can share the knowledge I have and give people a different perspective of how they're going to choreograph, I mean, make it more exciting. I mean, at the end of the day, if the industry comes back and it expands and grows, everybody benefits from it. But if the industry goes down, then nobody's going to benefit from it.
I suppose part of it would be also to start nurturing young people. Now, if you're going into this looking for people, you can...
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I've nurtured a team together already, but, you know, with COVID, one's gone back to the States, but he's willing to come back anytime. And they're all kind of doing their own thing because, I mean, if you haven't got a job for them, you can't expect them to wait, you know? So you've got to let them go out and do their own thing. But if I call, they'll all come back, you know? So it's just waiting for the investors.
Well, we talk about the new films, but they are now more action women in the Americans now, isn't it? And I mean, if you look at a lot of us female assassin women, so there has been a big turn. If you look at Netflix on any season, there's a lot of female assassin films. So there is like empowering women. So I think from a woman's point of view, it's a good market out there. You know, whether it be a Hong Kong film or an American film. I mean, when you see them now, they seem to have to be very flexible with the audience. That they've got a Chinese, a black person, and this. You know, I mean, they have to be very sort of Me Too friendly. You know, and so I think right now when you see any of these films now, all these action films, there's usually it's usually bilingual or something, isn't it? You know.
I mean, the world is interracial.
Yeah.
Right. So when you make a film, make it interracial.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody in this world is better than the next person.
No, exactly.
Everybody's the same. Everybody deserves the same opportunity, you know? So, you know, there shouldn't be, all the films, the white guy's always the hero, you know, he saves the day. You know, it's about the script, it's about the environment, where you're filming, and who lives in that area, and you make it real as possible.
Well, cinema's come a long way,
you know?
isn't it, from the 70s?
So, you know, it doesn't matter about the skin colour.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Right
It matters about the quality of action. I mean, even the stories don't really matter too much. On a low-budget movie, the story doesn't matter too much. Because the thing is, you're not using famous actors who are going to cost X amount of million just for them, never mind the budget, right?
Yeah.
So what you're doing is you're getting people with one or two people with a known face that can carry that movie, and you bring them all the new people in,
Yeah.
and you use them to bring these new people up,
That's right.
and that's the future of the industry,
Yeah.
you know. And then you just make great action, so
And
people
that's-
remember it.
That's what I was looking at, because, like you say, because he's so much different in the 80s and 70s when Bruce Lee was there. And I mean, that I think now you can be anybody, any colour, and you've got a chance. There's no discriminations, so it's a good thing. You know, what I mean, if you want to be a
Diverse.
female assassin in
Diversity.
action, eh?
Diversity. That's what
Yeah,
we're looking for.
it really has changed. So I think
There is still some discrimination around,
Oh yeah.
yeah. But you know, what can you do? You just have to ignore it and fight for what you believe in, and keep going.
Yeah.
And eventually, one day, all these stupid people are going to die out, and you're left with the best people, you know, that can live and work together, you know.
Yeah. The next few generations, I guess. You know.
Yeah.
I've got a question for all three of you. The lines have been blurred now between stunt performer that is purely a stunt performer and can maybe deliver a few lines, and an actor who can perform their own stunts. What value do you three place on an actor being able to perform their own, and the value of the stunt performer?
Good question, Dave.
Okay, this is going to fall into two categories: our side and his side. Reason being is he's worked both in Hong Kong and he's worked in the West with some very famous people, right, and big companies. But if you ask him about the West, about the East, about Hong Kong, whatever, there is no unions. So you can step on other people's toes. As an action director in Hong Kong, the director will come up and say, okay, this is the storyline, this is what I want in this scene. Then the director will go to sleep, and the action director will take over, he's like a second unit director, right? And then he will choreograph the fights, he will tell the cameraman where to put the camera. And then he will go to the editing room and he will edit it. So he'll have this vision in his head of how this fight's supposed to be. And he will bring it out to life, and he'll go and edit it, and it'll be exactly the same. But in the States or in the West, you have unions. So the director will have his idea of what he wants. He will tell the stunt director, who will take the actors 1 month before the action actually shoot the scene, and they'll choreograph that fight inside a sports hall or something like that, and then they'll take it back on set, and then the cameraman will have his idea where he wants the camera, or he will converse with the director, but the stunt director will not be able to tell them where the camera could go. So now you've got the director's idea of what he wants the fight scene to be, the stunt director's idea what he wants the fight to be, and now the cameraman's idea what he wants the fight to be. So now they all shoot it different, and then when he goes to edit, the editor edits it how he thinks it's supposed to be. So it never becomes as powerful as what the Hong Kong films are, and that's why you take Jackie or Jet or anything to the States, and they do a Western movie, this union based. They haven't got the power to cross over, you know. Now for Hong Kong, for us, being a stuntman, all the stuntmen get walk-on parts, a little bit of acting part or a dialogue, because they know how to react with the actors, you know. So it's better having a stuntman do it than rather bring in an extra, or you're going to have to stunt double anyway, because he can't do it. So he's accepted as a stuntman doing walk-on parts and doing fighting as well, you know. But I don't know, here maybe the stuntmen will complain and say you're taking our jobs.
No, it's very true, because we just did Fast and Furious, and they had 4 different stunt coordinators from Canada, America, France, and the scene that we did, I had one scene where I was sat by a table and doing some dialogue with the main actress, and they said, well, we want her to bash your head onto the table and they wanted to get stunt guys in there. They called unions and all kinds of stuff. So that would in Hong Kong, just do it, Winston.
They
That's
just do it. Oh, okay. Next scene,
You know what I mean?
Obviously, you guys are of a generation where you performed all your own stuff. Charlene, what about? I mean, we're in the same boat, performing our own stunts and acting as well. What's your thoughts on stunts as opposed to performance?
Yeah, even in Hong Kong, yeah, as he said, we don't have a team. Even as an actress, when I film TVB as an actress on set, I have to be a stunt double of another actress at the same
really?
time. This is what we do in Hong Kong.
So she's acting and she's stunt
Stunting
doubling from
for-
her.
for
Do you
the
see-
other
do you see that-
parts.
so Hong Kong still has the same value in having stunts come in and not just be stunt performer but also delivering dialogue.
Yes.
Not for me when I was out there. I didn't have any stunt doubles. I didn't have any stunt doubles. I didn't do it myself.
There's no one your size.
Mark, can I ask, you said you like working with Kofi. What was his character like? Was he someone you would go have a beer with or eat with after work?
Oh, Kofi was a fun guy.
Yeah, I bet.
I mean, we used to sit at opposite ends of the table, having dinner, and the whole crew and everybody was on the table, and he'd look up at me and he'd start swearing at me, and I'd start swearing back at him, and then we'd both stand up, and we'd both straight faced, look like we're really angry with each other, and we'd walk towards each other, and we'd get to the middle of the table, then we'd just burst out laughing and hug each other, and then go back and sit down and go and eat it. I mean, same with him. I mean, Kofi was such a fun guy. When you filmed, he was really serious, and he really made you suffer because he wanted the action good as well. But he allowed you to give your input. I mean, if he had an idea and you said, well, I mean, can I do it like this? He'd go, yeah, okay, cool.
Really?
If it worked, he'd let you do it. So he was one of the best directors to work with. Other directors wouldn't let you have your own idea. It had to be their idea and it had to be done exactly how they wanted it.
What was his martial arts background? Was he...
Choi Le Fut.
Choi Le Fut.
Yeah, he was originally Choi Le Fut. Yeah.
He was one of the best I worked with out there, actually. He was amazing, man. It started my career.
Really?
I remember we met at the Scala the first time, right?
I was saying,
Yeah.
your Scala was back in 1985, 86?
No, 88.
Oh, 89.
89,
Because
We
it
brought-
was snowing.
Yeah.
People were having trouble getting to the
We
cinema.
brought Garfe over.
That's right.
And then I was introduced to you saying that you were going to go out and film Cypress Tiger.
That's right. Yeah,
No.
yeah.
And then he came to Hong Kong, and then Kofi called me up and says, can you come and help Winston get used to the choreography? So I went on set, and then,
I couldn't get my head around it.
Is that Cypress
I
Tiger?
couldn't get it.
yeah, because they did some in Cyprus, then they went back to Hong Kong
Shot some in Hong Kong.
and shot some in Hong
I
Kong.
couldn't, when I first got there, I couldn't get my head around the way which.
I think the nice thing about our trip was when Gordon, when we did in after the seminar bit, he got his guitar out
Yeah.
and said, I'll be there. It was a really nice moment.
Well, there's a
That's
thing.
my guitar, by the way.
There's a thing you don't know about that trip. We were after we did that, we were traveling from London to Birmingham, and it was snowing. And on the motorway, there was a car accident, and the people were sitting on the bank in the snow, covered in blood. And as we were driving past Garfe, so he said, "Stop, stop, stop, stop." So we stopped the car, and he got out and he took his coat off and wrapped around the girl until the ambulance come.
Wow.
Yeah, amazing.
So
I remember when he come to Birmingham and I went up there and they were going to shoot this dad, Simon Yam,
Yeah.
and Robin Shue,
yeah.
and he wanted this car park, and Simon had damaged his leg. So Philip said, what we're going to do is I've got a shopping trolley from Tesco's. You're going to sit in the trolley. I'm going to film you from that. So when you're fighting, they're not going to see the trolley. Then he said to me, through that, he said, we need another guy. The nightclubs are coming out. It's 2:00 in the morning in Birmingham. He said to me, go to the nightclub and find the biggest guy I could. maybe a black guy said, biggest guy you can. So I had to go over the road. And this guy was eating a kebab, and I walked on and said, do you want to be in a film? and he looked at me like, and I said, no, it's the truth, it's the truth. I said, they're filming in the car park, there's a multi-story, they need somebody, and you look like that. And he said, he said, he pulled him on leg. I said, do you like Kung Fu? He said, yes. I said, have you ever seen like Warriors 2? And I went to the film, he goes, oh really? And he actually knew it, because he went late night, he knew, and he goes, you're cheeky. So he'd come over, and he come in, and they shot this scene with him, and he couldn't believe it, you know what I mean? This is 2:30 in the morning. How they improvised. Simon Yam's hurt, you're in a trolley, we'll be pushing you around, guy from the skew, and we got a film. And in the centre of what made it, why he liked this car park, because the centre rotated. So it looked even better as an effect where they parked their cars. Interesting day.
Well, Philip almost got me killed in Cyprus. When we were shooting that film actually in Cyprus, we actually, me, Simon and Robin and all of us, we flew out with Conan Lee.
Yeah.
And we flew to Cyprus and we were shooting in Limassol. And I was playing a cop. And the scene was that I had I'm chasing Robin and Simon, and they jump onto a bus. And I thought, okay, great, fantastic, I've got these two guns and I'm chasing these guys down the street and I'm firing at this bus. And I thought they had permission to do this. And they didn't ask me permission to do anything. So there's me running down the street, the high street in Limassol. There's a bus stop, Simon and Robin jump on, and I pull out these guns. And all of a sudden, the real police come, and they're pointing guns at me. My guns just melted out of my hands. Right? But they never asked any permission. They just turned, drive along. Oh, we stopped the film here. That's it. They just started shooting.
What's your martial arts background, Winston?
Eagle Claw Kung Fu. Eagle Claw Kung Fu. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah, when you did Aces Go Places, was Billy Chong on the set?
Yeah, he was.
Can you tell us about why he's not in the rest of the film?
Because he was still arrogant. I mean, Billy had a good career to start with, but he kind of become arrogant, and they just blacklisted him and sent him back to Indonesia, because he's Indonesian Chinese, you know. And then on Aces Got Places, my sister said, "Oh, bring him back, because his martial art is good." But on set, he was still arrogant, you know.
Was that because he was from a well-to-do family and he was a bit... Was that... I had somebody he had a rich family and he didn't... Is that what made him a bit arrogant? I don't know if that's true.
I don't know, but I mean, he was okay with me, you know, but towards other people he was
made some
very
good
arrogant.
films, he was good.
And I think he demanded too much from the producers and the director. He wanted them to do this for him and do that for him, and they just got fed up and said...
So ironically, on Tuesday, I'm speaking to Carl Scott, who's in America. He was in some of the Billy Chong films there.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be interesting.
Well, he didn't have a good thing to say about Carl.
Really?
Yeah.
Strange.
But, you know, I'm not repeating what he said.
No.
But,
Was he supposed to have a bigger role? Like, or
yeah, he's supposed to
was
have
it
a bigger
lacking?
role, yeah. You know, but it just, the ending, just you saw him a little bit in the
He's
end.
only briefly in it in the
There's a couple of
terracotta
movies.
scene, isn't he? He's
Yeah,
only
the
very
terracotta
briefly.
skates.
Yeah. That's what he said to me. His family, it was quite a well-to-do family, and that's. Sort
And
of made him a little
then
bit
after
arrogant.
that was it. Nobody ever brought him back again.
He did some TV, I think, didn't he? I believe in Indonesia. I think he did some.
Yeah, Indonesia he's done
Yeah.
quite a lot. Yeah.
Because I think wasn't they doing a film with his son, Tom?
There's some in the film. Yeah.
I'll tell you, I found crazy. Who I spoke to today, Conan Lee. He's up his head or something. He's building studios in Malaysia. He's got 30 scripts. I mean, thanks for putting me onto him, Winston. The guy I said, what's he talking about?
He's usually been
No. This is about 6 weeks ago, wasn't it? He called
He
my
wanted a
super
small
film.
part in the film we're doing, and he said, well, I've got 30 scripts, I'm building 2 studios in Malaysia.
Yeah.
Then he showed me a poster for his film, and it's him with his mum. I love my mum.
Yeah.
The autobiography of the best, greatest martial artist in the world.
That's what he's called himself. That's how, yeah. He told me that. He goes, you know I'm the best martial artist you ever found.
well, he got. I mean, Kobe fired him
Yeah, I
from the
know,
set.
I know.
I mean, we were shooting Fury in Red,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and he was I don't know, Mr. Cocaine on that set, you know.
What about that pirate one on the boat with him? Is it
Yeah.
in that one as well, yeah?
Yeah, and then Covey fired him at the end, and so they had him walk into a car and sit down, and then he sent him home. And then they blew the car up.
Yeah.
And that was the end of him, you know.
Yeah. He used to always do that because the thing is when we did those fight scenes together in Cyprus with me and him, and every time we would tell him to do something, it'd be really, and then as soon as he told me, he's a fucking idiot, man, this guy's fucking idiot. He told me don't worry about it, because he was such a big ego.
And he was trying to get me and Ken Lowe to, when we were doing the pirate one,
Yeah.
he was trying to get me and Ken Lowe to fight each other. Yeah. And he said to me, Ken was sitting, he was sitting here, Ken was sitting next to him, and I was sitting where you was. And he said to me, really loud, he said, Mark, if you and Ken fought, who would win? I goes, why? He goes, oh, I want to put my money on it. Who would have put my money on? I goes, of course you put it on me. And Ken put his head down. And then he got up and walked away. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's going, I don't like him. You know. I said, well, why are you bringing me into it for then? You know? But like, I used to go drinking with him. And
With
we went
Conan?
with Conan, yeah. Well, his real name's Roy Hutchinson.
That sounds so Deadworth.
No, his real name is Roy Hutchinson. You know.
I can't believe that.
I used to go. There used to be a club in Trimside Joy called Hollywood East, and it'd be down in the basement. We went drinking there one day, and I went to the toilet, and there's an English guy with a Chinese girlfriend. Well, it turned out to be his wife. They were married. And while I was in the toilet, Conan talked to the girl in Chinese and asked her how much she charges. And said, because you're with a Westerner, you must be a prostitute. So the guy she tells her husband, he gets up and he starts going on at Conan, and Conan's just sitting there with his head down. And I come back from the toilet and I see this guy shouting at Conan. And on his chair, he's put his jacket, he's wearing a suit, you see. He took his jacket off and he put it on the back of his chair. So I walked up and I took the jacket off the chair and I placed it nicely on the floor. Then I tapped him on the shoulder. I said, excuse me, is that your jacket? He said, yeah, and I started jumping up and down on him. And I said, you mother... No, I don't know if I swear on this. You're making this public. I'm really trying my hardest not to swear because every word comes out of my mouth is just a swear word.
I'm actually going to say, I was supposed to say.
In my brain, I'm swearing every word.
It's okay, we're going to dub it.
Yeah. So I say, you motherfucker, right? I say, this is Hong Kong, right? I say, how can you come here and racially abuse someone, you know? And I goes, get the hell out, otherwise I'm going to be stamping on your head. And him and his wife left. And as soon as I did that, Conan made a remark, ghost fight ghost, you know?
Oh.
So I just looked, and then the bartender called me over, and the bartender says to me, he says, what do you do that for? I goes, he's my friend. I don't have people pissing off my friend. He goes, no, you know what happened? I said, no. And he told me what happened. And I turned to Conan, I said, Conan, you motherfucker. And he's like, oh. You know, because I'm drunk, you know. So, I mean, Conan is a great performer, and he's a great athlete. I mean, that guy standing still can jump over your head.
Yeah. Back in the day.
He had that nasty accent in Tiger on the Beat too when he fell, didn't he, from that lamp?
Yeah.
Did he bust his legs?
He bust his knees on that one. I mean, he was a great athlete, you know, but he's American, you know. He was born in America. He was adopted by Americans, so they gave him a Western name, Roy Hutchinson. So he had that American attitude and ego, you know. So he was really full of himself. So a lot of the Chinese couldn't take it, you know. And that's why eventually he outdid himself. I mean, in small doses, Conan is great, but in, like you say, 3 o'clock in the morning, When he's been on the cocaine. You know.
Yeah, I was saying the same thing to you. I was like, when you get him in small doses, he's all right. But spend too much time with the guy, man. It's hard work.
He still looks in good shape. He still looks quite worked out. You know what I mean? Like even though he's like coming
He's
to
just
60
started training again.
He
Yeah.
still looks, you know, saying, I'm great, I've got 30 minutes on this
Was
thing.
he 63 now, ain't
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but he still looks. It's funny enough, if you look at all the people that we're looking at recently, like whether it be Oliver, in their 60s, they're still in good shape. Look at Cynthia, I mean, they're still in good shape. Oliver is like in 60, Richard 72, still looking really down there. It's surprising how many of them have managed to maintain themselves. They haven't got off the path of drink and drugs, which is very easy, you know what I mean? They've just sort of stayed in it. And
Yeah, but I mean, these people are martial artists
yeah.
who've had that discipline and training, and then going into the movie industry. So they keep sight of that discipline of their training, and all them years they've been training in martial arts, and they don't want to let it go. So they keep going. But if you look in the actors, they're into the drugs, the alcohol. Your friend Charlie Sheen, he got a Rolex watch out of Charlie Sheen. You know,
Trying to keep quiet.
I was bodyguarding. I was looking after him. We were in Hong Kong. I don't worry. I told a couple stories about that one. About Hong Kong. I was looking after Charlie when we finished up because he got into a fight with what's his name? Stretch.
that's the girl.
Steven Seagal. And we had to break them all up and separate them. And so I was working for Don Johnson at the time. And he said, go look after Charlie. And that's when we took Charlie to the peninsula. And he smashed a red room. Then he took off in a Rolls Royce and got lost in Hong Kong somewhere. So they said to me, go and find him. And they put me in another Rolls Royce to go and find him. And we found him in this watch shop. He was buying these watches. And because I found him, he came and he sat me down. He bought me a Rolex watch.
Another question, everybody?
Yeah. You guys have got a lot of history, but what's the future now? In the industry, in martial arts?
Well, for me, I mean, I made two promises to keep teaching my master's martial art. So now I've got schools in the UK, Scotland, France, Sweden, America, Malaysia, Singapore, China. So I'm just trying my best to promote his martial art and teach it. And then at the same time, I promised him I'd go back to the movie industry. So I'm also I want to show people around the world what he did, and show and use his martial arts in movies to show people what they are, you know. So I mean, that's my goal now, and I want to push other people. I want to push the next generation up. It's not about me, you know.
Do you think by starting small, like you're saying, from the days of 35 now it's all digital, it could be a bit of a learning curve, but
Yeah.
you can adapt to the new technology before you get onto the bigger budget films?
Yeah. So I mean, I gotta find a team that I can learn from,
Young kids, by the way.
but at the same time they're willing to listen, rather than that they say, okay, they just want it their way. I mean, I got my ideas of what I want to do, and of course I want it my way. But the thing is, in reality, my way is too old-fashioned. So I have to adapt and learn. So I have to get rid of the ego, you know, and I have to think of another way that I can fulfill my promise to make these movies and to show our martial arts in it. You know? So that's my goals. You have to ask Winston what is, and you have to ask her what she is.
Mine is, as you know, doing the films what I did before, and now producing as well. But that's one of the things. You mentioned White Tiger earlier on, and we met in Cannes.
Yeah.
And that's something that I really want to make. So after watching the documentary, I feel that story needs to be told and made into a movie. So I would love to be able to. The answer to your question is, I'd love to be able to do a crossover movie more.
Yeah, my goal is really to bring traditional kung fu back into the movies, back into theme. And right now, trying to assist my father, and I'm teaming up with my other martial arts friends. We're doing lots of short fight scenes for YouTubes, for Instagram and Facebook, trying to make it big. So hopefully one day we can do a big film with traditional martial arts.
That was he was in the main hall looking for you.
Actually, this is Jay. Jay is a rap artist, and he's been working with some very famous rap artists in the States and that. He also stunt doubled Donnie Yen. His kicking ability is amazing. His flexibility is amazing.
Is it your uncle John Cheng?
Eh?
Is it your uncle?
My godfather.
Yeah. Steak in the monkey shadow. Come and sit down, mate. Come in now.
No, I'll stand there.
That's okay. Yeah,
But if you ever do a party and want someone to rap for you,
well, it's not over yet.
I hope I get commission.
It's okay. So. Okay, let's go to the last question here.
Charlene,
bring them a cup of tea.
Didn't you make a film in mainland China?
Yeah.
Yeah, what happened to that film?
Yeah, I think it will release this year.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, I make a film, action film 3 years ago.
Okay.
It's called Qing Long Men. So
Who's in that?
Dragon Gate.
Dragon Gate, yeah.
Is that a period film?
It's half and half.
Goes back in time.
It goes back in time, yeah.
Because there's a lot of. I mean, China's churning those films, then, aren't they? You know, you can see them. They're really. Still, the industry's
Yeah.
quite.
Well, the film is about a family. They're the keepers of the Dragon Gate, and it passes down from generation to generation. So her father was the last one that was the keeper of the gate, but he was killed, and she only just finds out about it. Then she goes on this journey through underground fighting.
Wow. Why is it delayed?
Well, the thing is, this is the reason, because it's about underground fighting.
All right.
And the Chinese government don't allow that to happen, because they don't want to portray anything bad in China. You know? So because it's underground fighting, they blocked it from being released. But now they've found a way to release it. So it should be released this year, the end of this year.
Like a streaming channel then, like a platform?
I'm not sure yet, but the owners of the company said once it's released, they'll let me know and send me the...
Have you actually seen any of it?
Not yet.
That's frustrating.
Just a trailer.
You saw
It's
the trailer.
The
Yeah.
trailer, yeah? Because that's a good calling card, isn't it? If it was out there in the
Quite
in
nice.
the open now, you know what I mean? It's. I'm going to say, surely China's still filming a lot of it. There's still a lot of filming going on in China, isn't there?
Well, I mean,
Especially action
now,
films.
the Chinese film industry is so big now, and they're making like $2 or $3 billion movies, not billion. No, and their sets are unbelievable. You know, and they're so big, and they're just out of this world. The amount of money they're spending on it, you know. And in China, it's different from Hong Kong, because in China, if you're going to be an actor, you have to go to acting school in Beijing. And you have to spend at least 3 years in the acting school in Beijing, and the academy there. And then from there, they let you go out to do movies. But in Hong Kong, you don't need to go to acting school. You don't need to be an actor. It's not what you can do, it's who you know. You know, so it's a different attitude.
So this, though, I mean, this is have you thought about you could pursue some acting roles about to tell the show, but in China, because like I said, they do seem to be doing. They're still doing some kung fu films, aren't they? You know, period films.
Yeah, but I mean, because of the student riots,
Oh yeah.
now they're reluctant to let young Hong Kong people go to China to do any filming,
Really?
because they think they might
Activists.
bring in a bad attitude and spread it. So they're kind of blocking all the new actors to go to China at the moment. You know. Because I have a friend, you know, Choi Soo Kong.
Yeah.
He's
Met me at the
living.
airport once.
Choi Soo Kong is living in Beijing, and he's working so much. And he was going to get her to go to Beijing and do a movie with him, but then he said that the government wouldn't allow it. So he got knocked on the head.
That's a shame. It's all politics and viruses that seem to get in the way. I don't know. But like I said, I think probably you said two months' time it's gonna be elected on Hong Kong a bit, yeah.
I've just heard today that in November they're going to stop the quarantine hotels, but you still need 4 injections before they'll allow you into Hong
My
Kong.
mate was in one instance. You can't leave the room. They bring you food.
Yeah, you can't leave the room,
You can't
yeah.
do nothing. It's like
Well,
a prison cell.
we've booked. We have to stay in the quarantine hotel when we go back.
And that's it. You're just
when,
in there.
when she first booked, it was for 7 days, but just before we left, they put it down to 3 days in the hotel,
And 4 at home.
4 days at home.
'Cause they're not cheap, those hotels either, are they?
No,
they're not hostel
and
prices.
now the hotels are pushing up the price to whatever they want.
Yeah.
So it's not cheap.
Okay, let's have a rest of it. Let's